I'm Tyler. I am 19 years old. I grew up in Shelton, Connecticut, which is about a half an hour away from here. And I have, since 7 or 8 years old, been diagnosed with Tourette's and ADHD. I am a business management major with a minor in computer science. I'm really big into video games. I play a lot of different kind of games on different consoles and stuff. I play guitar. I'm not good at guitar. I play it, and that's kind of as far as it goes. I can't play it well. I can't play it great. I can just play it. I know a few chords that I can strum. When I first got diagnosed with it, it was almost a nice feeling. For a long time, I had kind of just like done facial Tourette's and not really known what they were or why I was doing them or why I felt like I had to do them. But it was nice to kind of put like a word at least to like why I did it. It's like, oh, I have Tourette's. And most kids my age didn't know what that was. It's all not until like now, or most people know what Tourette's are. But like, it was still like reassuring. Like, okay, it's not just me. Having Tourette's socially and around my friends was a lot. It was just kind of frustrating at times because I want to be like, oh, I have this neural impulse control disorder. But to most people, they were kind of just like, what? And then they'd move on and they wouldn't really care too much about what I was talking about. And they'd just be like, oh, that's the kid that makes the weird faces. But at the same time, like, when I had people that did listen or just like even take the time to understand what was happening, it was kind of nice. It was like always reassuring. That's how I've made a lot of like my good, better friends. They just didn't really care that I made weird faces once in a while. They were able to like look past that and just like see me for who I am, which I think was kind of nice. Yeah, so I take medication for it now. I don't know exactly what it does. All I know is that it helps me control them a lot. I still get the urges for them once in a while when I'm in like high stress times or I'm just really tired. I'll oftentimes just like do them a lot more.
Yeah.
But it's to the point now where they're definitely not noticeable. Like most people that I tell I have Tourette's are like, oh, you have Tourette's, because they don't even really notice that I'm doing them half the time. I think
Yeah.
when I do that, I'll do like that.
Yeah.
And I'll like flash my forehead, and people think I'm saying hi to them in public sometimes, and I'm not, and they don't know me, so they're like, oh, what is that guy saying hi to me for? And it leads to like a little bit of awkwardness, but like for the most part, it's hardly noticeable. I've met a couple other people that do have Tourette's. One thing I have noticed kind of interesting about Tourette's is that when you have them, other people that have them are a lot more noticeable to you. Like I had a boss when I used to, back at my old job, where like he would just like make weird faces, like make a weird noise once in a while. And I was like, oh, he has Tourette's. So one day I was like, oh, like Randy has Tourette's, right? And someone was like, what? Like, I don't know. I was like, oh, like, I wonder if I'm just noticing it more because I have Tourette's, and I'm like, oh, that's like a impulsive behavior he's doing repeatedly, almost like ritualistically, and like that kind of registered to me as Tourette's, but to other people it might not. Like that's the one thing that like I think is kind of cool. It's like, oh, another big thing is that like people, even without like diagnosed Tourette's, still have little like tics and little like things that they do. Usually they don't like touch their face or like fix their hair,
Yeah.
or like scratch their face, rub their nose, just something when they're nervous or they're feeling like a little bit uncomfortable that they do. But it's not like diagnosably Tourette's is not constantly impulsive. I don't know if it's like a spectrum the same way like autism is a spectrum where it's like there's like levels of severity. It's definitely there definitely are like degrees of it. Like I have it a lot less severe than someone who's constantly yelling or making noises out loud. But at the same time, there might be people that have it better than me. The difference between like a normal impulse and like a tic, I think, are the best way I can describe it is it's like an itch you have to have to scratch.
Yeah.
Like when something feels itchy, you can ignore it. You can kind of just leave it be, but it's kind of uncomfortable, and it feels better just like itch it. It almost like releases like a dopamine in your brain to like itch that scratch, or scratch that itch. But it's the same thing with Tourette's. Like when I do that face, it like almost releases like a relaxing or a dopamine in my brain almost. It gives me like some kind of rewarding feedback for whatever reason. I have never tried to like go off the medication. I know when I miss it, I get withdrawal. It's just I've been on it for so long, and my body's so used to it, and that's just like discomfort all day. I get sweaty. I get very like I can't sit still. I'm very fidgety. Attention deficit hyperactive disorder. I was diagnosed with that a couple years after I was diagnosed with Tourette's, so probably like 9 or 10, I'd say. That one, I think, probably impacts me like more just day-to-day life. Even on medication, it's hard to focus sometimes, doing things that I'm not interested in for, prolonged periods of time. If I'm in a room, like, reading, and someone's, like, watching TV next to me, I'll find that I read, like, pages of worth of, like, words, and I don't actually understand. I'm just listening to the TV. I've grown to a point where I can control it again. Like the same thing with the Tourette's. I just kind of learned to control them because as an adult you kind of have to. But ADHD in general is the more impactful in my day to day life of the two, but also the one that I'm better at controlling.